Wait a second. So we know more if we know that we don't know. When I first started on this path, I thought it was incredibly important to find out as much information as I could about everything. Once I knew, then I'd be okay. If I had the answer, then I could move on to the next question. And unfortunately, it wasn't just me thinking this way. A lot of people today are given the idea that knowledge is power. We go to school, we get our degrees, we now have a piece of paper that says we know our shit. Our egos go up and then suddenly we may think that we know best. We choose not to ask around because we already know that we have the answer. We've become an authority on the subject. People come to me for advice, not the other way around. Today we live in a culture that praises and prizes efficiency. We all just want to obtain that piece of paper or get that trophy, and for most of us, that's our end goal. You see, when we start to think that we know a lot, we start to take the things that we already know for granted. And in 2015, Yale University actually conducted a study, putting this theory to the test. An article taken from the psych.co website states, in one pertinent study in 2015, researchers at Yale University asked graduates to estimate their knowledge of various topics relevant to their degrees, and then tested their actual ability to explain those topics. The participants frequently overestimated their level of understanding, apparently mistaking the peak knowledge they had at the time they studied at university for their considerably more modest current knowledge. Naturally, when you find something fascinating out, it can be amazing. It's a really good feeling. And of course, when you're young, everything's exciting. Naturally, you're more curious about everything. And what do you do when you're curious? You explore and you ask questions, and you always look at things from a different angle. Because you know that you don't know everything, you're incredibly eager to learn. You see, a young mind tends to be much more open than an older mind. And as you get older, it's incredibly important to be aware of this. It's interesting how we don't put a limit on how old you're allowed to be if you want to become a president.
Oh yeah, he's got a point.
Anyways, our society rewards the person who's achieved a certain level in a certain field, and this is great. It's a nice thing. However, unfortunately, if they're not aware, it could be that very recognition that could hinder further learning. The problem is that if you're labelled an expert, you might actually start to believe that you are an expert, and that can be a bad thing. It also gets worse as us adults decide to put our beliefs on kids. Maybe we should be careful what we tell our kids if our brains are cognitively declining. The only difference between us and them is that we've been here longer. So is it right for us closed-minded adults to teach our open-minded kids? That phrase that says we can learn a lot from our kids really rings true in this context. Anyways, this brings me to meditation. There is a Japanese Zen term known as shoshin, and when translated, this means beginner's mind. There's a beautiful quote from the Zen monk Shunryu Suzuki from the book titled Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. He states, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." I love this. In one sentence, he really makes you think, as he's flipped the idea on its head that an expert should supposedly know everything. You see, it's true. The only thing we really need to know is to know that we don't know. If we keep this in mind, it'll help us to always be amazed and excited, even if we're going to work in the same field day after day. And not only does thinking this way make the world that much more exciting, but it'll also keep your confidence in check. And it'll also help you to have a greater willingness to hear other people's points of view. So, meditation will help you keep a beginner's mind for sure. However, you should also approach your meditation practice with a beginner's mind. And that should go for everyone, even the people who've been practicing for years. Not only will this help you keep your meditation fresh, but it'll help you appreciate life much more. Essentially, we should just try to be a beginner all the time, as only when we practice our beginner's mind is when we can truly be learning. I'll leave links to the study and article down below. If this video has given you value, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future content. I'm Alex, I'll see you next week. Later, Meditator.
Make no mistake, it's time to meditate.